Listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I'm very privileged to have Mr. Damian Bennett here with me. He is a veteran. We have, talked for years about we need to help our veterans. And I thought, what am I going to do my part? And I wanted to give them a voice. I've left my platform open for them. So I'm going to let Damian tell us a little bit about himself, his situation, however much you feel comfortable talking about, because you deserve to be heard. And we got to understand that these guys go through a lot to try to get the care that they need. There's a lot of red tape and a lot of runaround. And we need to try to do something to help them. So that's why I'm leaving this platform open. We're a couple of good old boys, so I'm kind of kicked back a little bit. Got my tobacco today, and so you need to light one up. Whatever you do, what you need to do, Damian. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Damian Bennett. I live in Lumberton, Texas. I am a medically retired U.S. Army veteran, 100% disabled. Served. I was in New York, stationed Fort Drum, New York, when 9/11 occurred. My unit was the first to deploy. I stayed on Rear D, supporting my unit. God, there's so many things. I had being in the Army was a great time for me. I had so much fun. It was challenging, but I was up to the challenge. And in the end, there were corruption scandals going on and a lot of bad issues up in DC with Walter Reed, not only with the hospital itself and them losing patients, my brother's coming back, far beyond recognition, missing limbs, amputees, being left in their own waste, rodents throughout the facilities, losing patients. Yes, that is a true story. And so I was put in the medical hold unit. And on Fort Drum, we didn't have a medical hold unit. We didn't even have a hospital on post. We had to use the facilities in Watertown, New York. And so through help with the Sergeant Major of the post, Command Sergeant Major Lopez, I helped develop the medical hold company and started out training some guys up on tractors and bush hogs and bat wings and riding mowers, and drove around in a truck watching these guys cut grass all day until we eventually were taken under MEDAC and assigned to MEDAC and formed our own company. It was a challenging time, but I was up for that challenge and fought very hard to, with my section to remain in the military. I still did my job 10 people, still passed my PT test, qualified expert on normal weapons. I just had that non-deployable label on me for 12 months or more. Once you have that, they're going to med board you, medically separate you. And thank goodness those regulations and things have changed since my time. I just happen to be a statistic, The Army, the Medical Evaluation Board, Physical Evaluation Board was run by one Lieutenant Colonel Babbitt. He and his section were under investigation for lowballing soldiers and kicking them out before I went in front of them, to which the same he did to me. So I go from that care, having the commander of MEDAC, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Black, was a good friend of mine and my doctor. And so I received excellent care. Then being thrown into the VA system, it's a swamp. It's havoc. They don't prepare you for the VA system. The rules and regulations, everything are different than what you're used to and accustomed to in the military. So it's another learning process and learning curve. And sadly, what they teach you in separation doesn't even attempt to come close to what you're really going through. And so unless you educate yourself and learn the system and learn the regulations, you're screwed. And so I'm president of Southeast Texas Veterans for Veterans, and the name says it all. We are veterans for veterans. Myself and my board, we don't get a paycheck. We're not on a pay grade. Any donations, any money that comes in goes straight out to the veterans. We work with veterans from all walks of life. Veterans suffering with substance abuse, whether it be alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be. We've helped get some of these people into substance abuse programs, treatment programs. We've gotten homeless veterans off the street, again, into some programs or into a home. And, we try to, our goal is to remind them that they have purpose. Just because they're no longer serving, just because they're disabled, does not mean that they don't have a purpose. They're not here for something. It's sad because there are all these resources in the community that the populace is hardly aware of, let alone the veterans. So my group works with these resources, and we help veterans to get their claims filed, appeal denials, get employment assistance, housing assistance, medical assistance, mental assistance, whether through the VA or outside of the VA. It's a challenge every day. And I am so passionate about what I do. The contact number on our Facebook page, Southeast Texas Veterans, the number 4 Veterans, the contact number is my home number. And so I don't play around.
I hear you. I hear you. Damien, I just wanted to let you know that I do appreciate your service. Myself, I wasn't in the military. I do have a lot of medical problems myself, and a lot of things you and I have in common. I think that's why we resonated together. Yeah, we connected real well.
Yeah.
We're both going through spinal problems, that kind of thing. I'm tired of just saying that I want to help. I really seriously want to do everything I can, and we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm trying to make this successful. Number one, I mean, I want to make my own money. I'm on disability, but I want to be able to make my own money. But I wanted to set aside part of the money that I make to try to start a facility for our veterans that are homeless and need help. And maybe it's a pipe dream, but I think it's going to happen. I have people say, yeah, you need to make sure they're not on drugs and alcohol when they come in. I'm like, no, that's not fair, because they need
We'll
help.
have a resource for that. When you're planning and setting up this program, you're going to have those sources and resources set in place. And Dorothy Mindock and I are working on something similar in Houston. And it's sad that even with the VA system, as you said, it's red tape, it's bureaucracy. If you don't know the system, it's set up for failure. So many veterans have given up because of the way the system is structured.
And that's the way they want you to be, is they want you to give up. They don't want you to get these resources that should be readily available. That's not fair. And
that's the thing, when they claim that the VA healthcare is world-class healthcare. Yeah, okay. Why aren't our elected officials going to VAs? And I'm not stepping into that area. I had about an hour-long conversation this morning with a patient experience officer at Michael E. DeBakey in Houston. And, I'm right now, I'm 24 days, I think, out of lower lumbar spinal fusion, major surgery. My surgeon was only allowed to give me 2 weeks worth of pain medication.
That's not right.
No. And mind you, this, I do physical therapy and occupational therapy, both, each one 2 times a week. how am I expected to go through this pain of recovery and rehabilitation to gain some portion of my life back without being properly treated with pain medications? And I'm not delusional. I don't expect to be pain free. That's never going to happen.
No. You're going to live with some kind of pain the rest of your life. That's something the doctor sets you down and says, look, we can relieve some, but you're always going to have it. And,
exactly.
The problem is you'll get this fixed right now, and then later on it's going to move up, and then it's going to move up, it's going to move up, and eventually your whole spine's going to be fused. Just going to be one big bone.
And that's what's sad, Kyle, is that yes, this lower fusion, it has, I've seen positive results from it. It's taken a lot of the sciatica in my right leg away. But this is only one of my disabilities and injuries. And so through the process of trying to recover and doing physical therapy, I'm overcompensating on other disabilities that I have. And this one process, this one fusion does not repair my entire spinal damage. And the next surgery is even more invasive than this one. And it's got me scared to death. And I'm putting it off as long as possible. But you try to take things and do things the right way and take it one step at a time. But if you don't have a medical team around you that's supporting you, what are you going to do? And it's sad because the VA, the military branches and the VA helped create the opioid epidemic. But there's no one going after them. They're going after Purdue Pharma. They're going after Walgreens, CVS, for prescribing medications that a doctor wrote a prescription for. Where is that on Walgreens or CVS?
They're doing what the doctor prescribed.
Request, exactly.
Yeah, they requested it.
And that's their job. And so in about 2016, they come up with the Opioid dependency program. And so they're taking, and it's one size fits all. They don't take it by individual case.
That's not
It's
right either.
throw all the veterans in the same pot and we're taking your pain medication away. So they took 2 of my pain medications, a muscle relaxer and an anxiety medication away from me, and gave me 12 more medications in the place.
Jesus.
One of those 12 was Suboxone, that this opioid dependency man, I refuse to call him a doctor, he's an idiot, wanted me to take Suboxone 10 times a day, or 10 pills a day for the rest of my life. And that doesn't even include the other 11 pills multiple times a day. I'm not taking this. I'm not doing this. You've lost your mind. And they did this to me because I called my medication in early. Well, that's what we're instructed to do. When you get your, medication in, excuse me, call in your refill. And so if I'm being instructed to do this, then you're going to take my meds because I called them in early. Well, number one, I get a 30-day supply. In different months throughout the year, there's 31 days. So that takes away. If my medication is due on a weekend, I have to have it the Friday before. God forbid it fall on a holiday, and I have to have it before the holiday starts. And so these are the issues that I have gone through, and sadly, I'm not alone. There's no program for this, no in-house, like with my TBI, my spinal injury. I've inquired about a tier program, and the VA has one, but it doesn't cover a TBI or spinal injury. But right down the road from Michael E. DeBakey, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Right down the road from Michael E. DeBakey in Houston, they have Memorial Hermann. Their tier program does all of this, and it's in-house, inpatient or outpatient. And I've been begging the VA for a complete body overhaul for over a decade. And so if they don't have it available, they're supposed to outsource you. And with this community care program, I'm sorry, it's a farce. The community care program is non-existent here in the Golden Triangle, Beaumont area. When the VA switched from Mission Act 3 to Community Care Network 4, I lost all of my doctors in the community except for one. And these providers will not go back into the VA network because the VA doesn't pay their bills. I've watched a video of Senator Rounds from South Dakota, I believe. He's confronting the Secretary of the VA in DC in a closed meeting. And the Secretary of the VA says, oh, it is to the veteran's choice who they see in the community. No, it's not. It should be, but it's not. These people have to go under the VA network and contract and agree to accept Medicare pay for their services, which is chump change. And so the doctors that will accept this and go into this network are bottom of the barrel. You know, I've been advised to see doctors that I wouldn't take my dog to.
Jeez,
and hell, I'd rather go to my veterinarian, my dog's vet, than go see these people.
that's
And
crazy.
it's a shame because it's not a Beaumont, Texas, Houston, Texas issue. This is a national issue. And until all veterans stand up together as one voice, nothing is going to change. We can all take our jabs here and there, you know, lay it out, explain it. But until we stand together and unite, nothing is going to change.
You know, and by no means am I comparing the stuff that I go through to what you go through, because you go through a lot worse. But and I'm thankful for having Medicare, because it's, you know, it does help, but there's still problems there. Some of it's some red tape that I have to go through to get approved for anesthesia and this, that, and the other. And
And they're all billed separately.
exactly.
And that's the thing, Kyle. It's not a VA medical care issue. It's the entire medical care, not just for veterans, but for Americans, period. Unless you can afford Cadillac insurance and you're on the system, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a hurry up and wait process. And I'm sorry, some of these veterans don't have the time to wait.
Exactly.
I have, you know, a couple of months ago, for about a month and a half, I had two spouses and a family member of veterans that had committed suicide over untreated chronic pain.
Mm.
That's just wrong.
It is wrong.
This opioid dependency program that they're running, they're focusing, their main focus should be on the veterans that are misusing and abusing their medications. But they're not. It's everybody. They're throwing them into the same bowl.
But can you blame them? Can you blame them for
Veterans of the
that?
system?
No,
Oh,
for the
yeah,
veterans, for the
Oh, no.
veterans. You know,
No.
and for some of them, they're kind of the only way to cope.
Exactly. And it's not just their physical disability, it's the mental disability. It's what they're dealing with every day. And they should have specialty clinics for these, you know, which some claim they do. It doesn't pass the muster with me. You know, when they take these guys, you know, these veterans medications and things, I want to know how many have turned to the street and are buying street drugs, you know, going and getting heroin, because you can't trust with fentanyl and everything coming out now. Heroin's the cheapest. So that's what they're going to turn to.
Yeah.
And so at Michael E. DeBakey, they will treat a street addict veteran, whether they're heroin, methamphetamine, whatever it may be, they will treat them with methadone, and they use the liquid methadone, not the pill. And so they pay these addicted veterans to work at the VA so they're there for the methadone call. These are the people you see throughout different clinics throughout the hospital, passed out, drooling on themselves. You know, totally waste of space. You know, when they used to have smoke shacks, you know, this one guy's sitting next to me and the cigarette's burning his fingers and he's got ramen noodle and stuff drooling out of his mouth. And you're paying this guy for this? Are you kidding me? But they won't treat a chronic pain patient. Where does that make sense?
The point I was trying to make a minute ago with what I go through is, like I say, nothing compared to what you go through, but I have to go through a little bit.
Don't short yourself, brother. Pain is pain.
Well, I'm talking about with Medicare.
Yeah.
You know, that little bit of red tape that I have to go through sometimes, I think is a pain in the butt. I could not imagine what y'all go through. And for you to go put your life on the line and then come back needing needing help and finding so much red tape to go through. Talk about you're having to get back and forth to Houston and
Well,
the problems you have with transportation.
the outpatient Beaumont Clinic does provide a shuttle
Mm-hmm.
that transports veterans Monday, Wednesday, Friday to Houston, to the hospital and back. They do not own the shuttle. The shuttle is on lien to them, being loaned to them by a local resource. It's a non-handicap accessible shuttle. It depends on volunteer drivers, which are mostly retired veterans. These drivers cannot assist a veteran on or off the shuttle because of liability issues.
Mm-hmm.
And for the others that don't utilize that system, we have to make our own way to and from Houston. Personally, my wife has to drive me, and I'm a horrible passenger side driver, man. It's I can't tell you how many times I've heard, "This is the last time I'm driving you to a medical appointment." Okay, until the next time. But they pay you travel pay, $80. Okay, that's not even gonna buy a tire. With the gas prices, I'm lucky to be able to fill my gas tank up and go through McDonald's dollar drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't pay for the wear and tear on your vehicle. It's crazy, and that's where the community care program comes in. But it's been destroyed due to non-payment by the VA. They switched from the Mission Act 3 to Community Care Network 4. Once they took that step, Tri-West is VA insurance. So they took all responsibility away from Tri-West for making an appointments, doing referrals, all that, and the VA handles all that now. Now you've got the VA and Tri-West pointing the fingers at each other. Oh, that's not our mistake, that's their mistake. And then you got both of them pointing the finger at the provider. Oh, well, that provider doesn't know how to address an envelope properly to send the bill to the correct place. Okay, so you're telling me all these people are stupid. You give them with the authorization paperwork and the address, which is a PO box, to send the bills to. And gosh, Kyle, I had 11 collection accounts on my credit report for authorized VA community care appointments. And it was over $15,000 just on imaging.
Jeez.
Through fighting to get this off my credit report, I had to contact the VA's collection department and request that they call the provider with me on the phone so I could hear that this situation is being taken care of. So he makes a phone call, the provider's office answers, and I have to sit and listen to this guy tell the provider that there was a statute of limitations they had to bill the VA within. They missed that, so they have to eat that debt. I've got a veteran I work with. It's got over $2 million
Jeez.
on collection accounts on his credit report for authorized VA community care appointments. This guy's a cancer patient.
Oh,
I mean, this dude's on his last leg. Thank God he's moved to a different state and is getting excellent care now. But that didn't make over $2 million on his credit report go away.
That's ridiculous.
And during that interview with Senator Rounds and Secretary of VA, they spoke about where they launched this community care program, doing the satellite program in San Diego. And the secretary stated that they were concerned about the program and not being able to pay the bills. Well, guess what, buddy? You ain't paying the bills right now. And so people say, oh, veterans should be able to choose who they want. That's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. We need to work with the system we have. Every VA medical hospital, along with other hospitals, of course, are training facilities for a college of medicine in that city. So we're being treated by residents and interns. And I'm sorry, I'm not a guinea pig. I'm not the government's guinea pig. I did that while I was enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, just in my hospital stay for my spinal fusion, I had a drain tube put in my spine,
Mm-hmm.
and it works on a vacuum system. And so Doogie Howser comes over and is telling me he's going to take the drain tube out of my spine. And I said, okay. And I could feel him cutting the incisions around the tube where they had sealed my skin around it because it works on a vacuum system.
Right.
And so he started to pull the drain tube, and I'm like, oh, coming out of off the bed, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, how much of that thing is in there? He said, it's longer than your incision. And I'm just like, oh my God, all right, well, hurry up. And so when he finally removed it completely, I was able to take a deep breath and, oh. And he tells me, okay, Mr. Bennett, you're going to feel a slight poke because he has to stitch up the incision. And so I'm thinking, okay, it's the poke from the lidocaine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was I wrong?
Oh my gosh.
This kid stitched me up, which was just 3 stitches, 6, holes, no lidocaine, no nothing. And I'm screaming, Kyle.
I imagine.
And this kid, oh, you're doing great, Mr. Bennett. You're doing great. Can we carry on? I said, have I punched you in the face yet? Hurry up and get this shit done and get out of my room.
Jeez, man.
And so you're unfortunately, and I try to be nice to them. I try to work with them, but we should have the option of seeing the resident or the intern or the freaking director of the clinic to see an actual doctor. And thank God for Dr. Puentes, the director of the neurosurgery clinic at Margarita Bakey. 28 years experience in neurosurgery. He's from Baylor. Just a really good guy. He's got great intent, but again, his hands are tied by the higher authorities.
Jeez.
And
What about when you have an emergency that's, not in the middle of the night or something?
go to the ER.
They just tell you go to the ER?
Yeah. And then they don't pay those bills.
Oh man.
On July 3rd, I fell and had concussion, all the good stuff, rattled my hip joints, and call the VA and, go to the ER. So I went to an ER, and it wasn't even worth the trip, but they sent in the bill to the VA and to Tri-West, and they denied that bill. That's over 16 grand just for that one visit.
And stuck on you.
And I'm calling to get it figured out. And of course they tell me, oh, they're supposed to bill it to the VA, not to Tri-West. Well, isn't Tri-West the VA's insurance, the veterans insurance? So what does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
But these are the games they play. And if you don't stay on top of it, you're going to get lost in a whirlwind. And too many veterans have run into too many brick walls, too many roadblocks that they just give up. And that's what they want. They expect it's set up for failure. They don't pay their bills. You're a government guinea pig. You have interns and residents treating you, but don't get me wrong. There are excellent people within the VA system. They're few and far between, but they're there. Every medical facility throughout the United States is shorthanded right now due to, the pandemic and all these things and regulations. Everybody's short. But if you're going to claim world-class healthcare, then actually do it.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are in the system there at the VA that aren't even qualified to be there, and they're expecting a miracle out of them?
It goes too deep. I mean, hell, the Inspector General's office was in Houston last month investigating 2 suspicious inpatient deaths. And while I think it was the week I got out of the hospital, that was their annual inspection. And, it's sad when you're putting these civilians in charge of these areas that they have no clue what a veteran has been through, what they go through, what they're experiencing, because along, as you know, with physical damage and physical injuries comes the mental injuries, becomes the mental challenge. When you're told that this is your new life, you'll never do anything you used to be able to do, get used to it. That's a kick in the gut. because that's not how I live and that's not how I was trained. You adapt and overcome. Unfortunately, with me attempting to adapt and overcome and to maintain what was normal to me is only damaging me. It's
Yeah.
making things worse. And I'm not getting any help or assistance with it from the VA. I've been fighting for over 6 years, Kyle, for the VA to take these spinal damages seriously. Now, I've been to their ER in Houston 2 days, and they tell me, "Oh, we're looking at your MRI from 2016, and we see that you have injuries and et cetera, but there's nothing. You have to have an acute injury to be admitted." And I said, "Why are you looking at my MRI from 2016? Why aren't you looking at the MRI from 2021? Oh, you did a new MRI? Yeah. Where'd you do that at? Here, you freaking dumbass. Do you look at my file? Do I
Jeez,
have to get
man.
off this gurney and go do your damn job?" And I brought the disc and the results with me.
Mm-mm-mm.
And for that MRI, July 21st, 2021, I was assaulted by a male nurse in the recovery room.
Oh,
Because
man.
when I come out of sedation, it's not that I've ever been a drug addict. Um, it's in my DNA. I have a very high tolerance to pain medication.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot. Saying I have claustrophobia is putting it mildly, but it's not just being in a tube, it's the magnets. It triggers. And so they sedate me for the MRI. And then when I get to recovery, I come out of sedation mean as a rattlesnake. I don't mean to be, but it just happens. And so they give me 200 milligrams of Demerol to keep me calm.
Jeez,
And
man.
that MRI in July 21, I'm coming out of sedation and I'm in the recovery room and I see some dude, he's standing to my right. And I don't know if he spoke to me or if I spoke to him. I'm coming out of sedation, sitting up, and this male nurse comes from around the corner, around the curtain, and arm bars me across the throat, pinning me back down to that gurney, to that bed, and with all his weight across my throat. And I'm in there getting my neck and spine MRI because I broke them. And so after they start giving me the pain medication to keep me calm, old boy says, "I remember dealing with you before. I didn't recognize you. You cut your hair off." Dude, I give a rat's ass what I cut off. You don't treat a patient that way, a veteran. And if he's done it to me, he's done it before.
Yeah.
So I had to file a police report, and they told me that they're sending him to customer treatment retraining. Who in the hell's a customer? I'm a veteran, and when I'm in the hospital, I'm a patient.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's just what they call it. Well, you need to call it something else. And so they were supposed to MRI my spine from the base of my skull to my tailbone. Well, they only did the cervical and the lumbar. They didn't do the thoracic. So before my surgery last month, I requested to have an MRI of my thoracic spine. My surgeon said, "Oh, it was a good call for that doctor to order your MRI." And I'm like, "Dude, that was my call. That was my request." And we see where your thoracic spine is fractured with impinged nerves. So just because they fused my lower spine, that's only one step in repairing my thoracic and cervical spine. My left, arm, shoulder, everything is completely foobar. Both hips are bad, both knees. Bone scan shows horrible arthritis in both my knees, both my hips. So treating one injury or disability doesn't account for the others, and it doesn't account for the overcompensation trying to recover from one that affects many. And so it is a very, broad scale of each patient has an individual story. They have individual issues. Veterans with PTSD, people don't understand. The simplest things can trigger that PTSD. And, it could be a car backfired. It could be, someone accosting them on the street, yelling and cussing at them. You get to that fight or flight mode and you black out. I'm sorry. You react, and that's what you're trained to do. And so for them to come back and have this held against them as, "Oh, well, you're dangerous because you're mental PTSD,"
I just
it,
don't understand how when somebody's gone through what an individual's gone through, and to be diagnosed with PTSD, you should have something in place to be able to better handle and deal with people with PTSD. And it's not fair to hold that against them.
It's not, Kyle. And sadly, they have psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, people that have no clue. You know, these are civilians that don't know what these guys have gone through.
Excuse me.
Oh, no problem. But if you haven't experienced it, then, and something I like to say all the time, unless you've worn my combat boots, keep your mouth shut. Because you don't have any clue. But it's a constant battle, and you can't give up. That's what they want you to do. Don't give in to them. You know, something like I was talking about this opioid dependency program where they took these people's pain medications. Well, how many of those people are now on the street and are heroin addicts, among other things? How many of those people intentionally or accidentally overdose and die? You know, they talk about 22 veterans a day. I'm sorry, that's gone up to 36. It's unacceptable. One is unacceptable.
Well, yeah, one is unacceptable.
And if they would look at this realistically and have a veterans advisory board, you know, have when you're designing a program to help veterans, well, you need veterans who've been there, done that, to help guide you on what works and what doesn't, because it's not one size fits all.
Exactly.
These veterans with PTSD and these combat vets, you know, going to a group with other veterans would help, but not in a clinical facility, sitting around a campfire, man, you know, doing other therapy programs aside from the stigma of being in this hospital. I mean, dude, every time I go to the VA outpatient clinic or the VA hospital, they, of course, you know, take my vitals and my heart rate's through the roof, you know. Oh, is your heart rate usually this high? No, I'm in the VA. You know, this happens every time I'm here. And plus, I took a Xanax just to get here. And it just, they don't understand. And the good doctors, the good people that are in the system, try to step up and speak out for their veterans. Well, then they get retaliation. They get stumped. And it's all a matter of control and fear to keep these people in line with the agenda and what the regulations are as they're set. And it's wrong. And what I try to do is bring awareness to these situations that my brothers and sisters and I face and get the help in the community. You know, I want to help the VA help us. They, you know, they talk about, gosh, the Secretary of the VA sent out a letter talking about how they will not tolerate discrimination, harassment, and all these things. And at the end of the letter, it says, we're trying to make this a better environment for our employees. Really? Why don't you start with the veterans? You know, there's so many things that go on that, you know, aren't publicized, that don't go on the news. You know, we had a veteran go up to the 6th floor into mental health and told the receptionist that he had a plan to commit suicide and he was about to kill himself and needed help. Her response was, do you have an appointment?
Oh my gosh.
No, he doesn't have an appointment.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, we can't see you here. You have to go over to this clinic and da-da-da. Dude goes down the elevator, walks out the front doors, goes to his truck in the parking lot, pulls out his pistol and blows his head off in the freaking parking lot.
Jesus.
And all of these things that are happening every day are not spoken of. They're not publicized. They don't want you to know that. You, John Q. Public, you know, this is, it's unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. And if they want to revamp the VA and the system, then do it along with veterans. Make veterans part of the system because it is the Veterans Administration.
How,
So they have veterans helping.
How many veterans do they try to make them feel guilty about asking for help too?
Well, it's the tone and the response that veterans get that oftentimes makes them feel guilty. But we have pride. We have pride in ourselves. We were trained to suck it up and drive on, suck it up to adapt and overcome. And so just being able to personally acknowledge and accept this shortfall, this issue, that's a challenge for the veteran to even go ask for assistance. And that's what they don't understand. If someone is crying out, you need to respond now, not say, oh, we'll get you an appointment in 6 months.
Yeah. And how many of them go up there? They have to be there a certain time, a certain date. And if they miss that appointment, then they have to go through all the red tape again, or they just don't get another appointment.
Exactly, both. It takes, some veterans multiple attempts to get an appointment. Sometimes those appointments are canceled and rescheduled on part of the VA. Sometimes it's by the veteran. But it's a system, and it takes a long time to get these things processed, to go through the proper authority to get approval. The whole referral process, it has to come from your primary care provider. And that's why they have specialty clinics, because primary care providers are not surgeons. They're not, mental, psychiatrists, psychologists, any of those things. And so that's why they have specialty clinics. And so it should be a smoother transition to be able to get into those clinics. Yes, it may take a couple of times, and the VA's actually put regulations on it where if they cannot get you an appointment within 30 days in the VA facility, then you're outsourced to the community. But it has to be to a VA network community care provider. And as I said, Kyle, the ones that'll take that, Medicare pay, a small slice of what their actual charges are, they're, not all of them, but a lot of them are bottom of the barrel. They're not in it for the veteran, for the patient. They're in it to just get that chump change and bill the VA as often as it can.
Was it you or Dorothy that told me the story about the veteran that had an appointment and was made sure that they were there on time and everything, and
They called the wrong name.
They called the wrong name. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's common, unfortunately, but they, these receptionists and things, I can't tell you how many times, Kyle, I've gone into a certain clinic and it's like a reunion. They're back behind the desk and in the offices, giddy and laughing and giggling, and, like it's some reunion or something. They're not there. And it's not everybody, trust me. And, I hate to come across as I'm, dogging the entire VA, because that's just not that's not realistic. It's not true. There are good people there, but it's too often. And, there's also issue with, I was sitting in for my follow-up last week, and they, there's many cultures of people in the VA system, both employee and veteran. And some of these employees are hard to understand because English isn't their first language, and they have accents and things. And so I've watched people being, the attendants calling a name, and it's his veteran's name, but he can't understand what the hell she's saying. And, it keeps going on. And he's like, are you trying to say this? And says their name. Yes, that's what I've been saying. No, I mean,
it's not what I heard.
Right, exactly. And so it runs into those situations. And, I don't blame those people. They're just trying to do their job, but it all contributes. It all contributes. And, sadly, veterans lose hope and they give up. And
well, you remember when we talked a while back, I mentioned how they basically treat y'all like animals and say attack, 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 and then expect you to change that way of thinking when you go back into the civilian population. How does someone just turn it off like that?
you don't.
Exactly.
And that's once you're trained, I mean, I had an argument with a woman in defense finance and accounting services, telling me that my injuries could have happened to just any soldier. Really? Have you ever been in the military? No. Well, right there, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Let's take, and at this time, I was having this dispute. I said, well, let's take the current events as an example. This is almost a year ago when the escape from Afghanistan occurred. And I told this woman, I said, who did they send back to assist these people getting out of Afghanistan? Let me think about it. It was the 10th Mountain Division, my unit, 2 Marine Recon regiments, and 82nd Airborne. Why didn't they send just any soldier over there to take care of that?
Right.
And so, for someone to say that, it just, it baffles me. It's like, and what's sad is these people are trained this way. And, like the VA stating, oh, we just hired 1,800 new employees. Well, who's going to be training these new employees? Because if it's the people you have now doing veterans claims, you're screwed. Because these people don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's almost with any government program, their first reaction is to deny. And that's with Social Security, that's, with Medicaid, all different type of programs, and the VA system, sadly. And so you have to appeal. And a lot of times, there's law offices throughout the United States that help veterans to get their claims filed, to get, win their claims, to get their disability, but they're taking part of that veteran's money, and they say, oh, if we don't win, we don't recover anything. Why should a veteran have to pay someone to get the VA to acknowledge what this veteran earned? I don't care what you think we deserve. All we want is what we earn. Nothing more, nothing less. And, that's, I don't want to talk about that subject because it's going to take us into areas we agree not to go.
No, I understand. I understand. Well, and what, not too long ago on the news, they had been talking about the burn piles.
Yeah.
And
the PACT Act.
Yeah. Well, how many were just told, oh, well, you smoke? Well, that's where you got your cancer from.
Kyle, this has been going on. We've been fighting chemical agents. It really became exposed in the public's eye with World War One. And it's continued since then. What's sad are the, World War II, Korean, Vietnam, Gulf War veterans that have these diseases that have been denied for all these decades. And here, so many are no longer alive. They died from their illness. So people are all, on the bandwagon and pumping up the PACT Act that it was passed, and signed into law. Okay, it's been signed into law. Calm the hell down. It still has not been implemented. And that's going to take years to implement these proper programs to vet these veterans for these conditions. And then they're going to stipulate the conditions and pull up things like you said, oh, you smoke or you did this, that. It's the same BS. It's a merry-go-round. I've been on it for almost 2 decades and I want off.
Yeah, I understand.
I just want proper medical care. I want what you promised me, and time to put up or shut up. Period.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to help veterans. It's a shame that you have to have outside folks like me want to do something to help when the government should be taking care of this with no question.
Oh yeah.
But yet, look at all the stuff that you've had to go through, other veterans have had to go through. I couldn't imagine that nightmare. The little bit that I have to fuss about and I complain about is nothing compared to what y'all go through.
And Kyle, there's a brother of mine. He wrote a bill. This man is lucky to be alive, let alone walking, for misdiagnosis and mistreatment by the VA. and he was trying to make change in it. And so he wrote a bill, and he went to DC and knocked on doors and knocked on doors and talked to, different representatives. And it took years, but he persevered. He stayed on focus, and his bill was passed, closing a 73-year-old loophole in the VA system against medical malpractice. And because not every doctor in the VA is a VA employee, they're contractors. So therefore, they're not bound by VA law and regulations.
Exactly.
And so it's just another loophole. Once this bill was signed into law, they made a new loophole, sadly. And so while he won that battle, the war continues. The war for proper treatment for our veterans. And, it's crazy because when I was separated, like I said, I was caught up in a corruption scandal. I was put out of the military with 10% disability and severance pay. With the exact same medical records, the VA put me at 80%, paid at 100% because I'm totally and permanently disabled, individually unemployable. So that means I can't work now, Kyle. I'm 35 years old. Hell, I was a master plumber before I joined the Army. That was a culture shock in itself with that pay grade drop, but I'm being told I can't work. And if I do go back to work and defy the VA's recommendation, they're what they classify me as, I would lose 20% of my benefits. It would go from 100 down to 80. So I would lose dental, vision. The glasses aren't because I'm cool, it's flash burn. I have 4 different pair I have to wear in a day, depending on the brightness. And so my vision, I'm technically considered a blind American veteran. And if I went back to work, it would cancel all those benefits out and cut 20% of my pay. And so they have as I said, when I was separated, things have changed. They've changed regulations. Instead of putting people out under a medical discharge, they'll move them to a non-deployable stipulation, placement at a base, wherever. I was a level 1 systems administrator, communications, not top, secret clearance, got called from my top. I could have gone anywhere in the world and done my job and been an asset to my unit, just like I was at 187. But I stayed loyal to 187. And Command Sergeant Major Frank Grippy, big impact on my life. And Staff Sergeant Dwayne Sims, little Puerto Rican. That some bitch was bloody. Oh my God, I picked on that guy so bad. He's from the Bronx. He's a huge Yankees fan. Had the logo tattooed on his arm and everything. And I was on funeral detail, and I'm out in Boston. And so we're staying overnight to do this funeral and stuff. And so we go out on the town, me and a buddy of mine, and we go down to Lansdowne Street and party and everything. And we go check out Fenway. And there was a dude selling Yankee Sucks bumper stickers. And so I bought a stack of them, Kyle. And so I get back on post, and I'd go to the parking lot and I'd put one of those Yankee Sucks bumper stickers on my platoon sergeant's car. And it'd take him a day or two to figure it out, or somebody pointed it out to him, and he didn't have to ask. He came in the combo shop, Bennett, get your fucking ass, get that sticker off my car. And I'd laugh, and I'd go take it off, and I'd wait a couple of weeks, a month maybe, and I'd put another one on. Yeah. And so this went on for months, and he's just tearing my ass up. Bennett, Jesus, stop doing that, please. He's like, how many of those things do you have? I said, enough to keep fucking with you for years, Sergeant. And so, I mean, it was great. I used to go into my commander's office, who was a Red Sox fan, and this when the Yankees and the Red Sox went to the World Series, and I'd go and change the screensaver to a Yankees logo and stuff. And so in the company, you'd hear in the morning, Bennett, get your fucking ass in here. And so at the end of the series, the Red Sox beat the Yankees, and I was subscribed to Sports Illustrated. And so I had the entire season of the Red Sox with the World Series edition and everything. And I brought it in and put it on his desk for him before he came in. And, he's like, damn, Bennett, that's cool, man. I said, hey, I can play, I can take it as good as I can give it, but God, that's some good memories. And anyway, just lots of fun, and so things have changed, and for the better. It should have been done a long time ago. So in 2012, I was contacted by the PDBR, which is the Physical Disability Board of Review. It's out of San Antonio, Texas. The Air Force is doing it. The letter stated I could dispute my military separation. And I'll tell you what, Kyle, I had that freaking paperwork filled out and requested paperwork with it and had it in a stamped address envelope, and it sat in the door jamb of my vehicle for over 2 years. I was scared to send that letter off because all I have is my VA disability and Social Security just for my family on. And I can't lose that. I can't risk that.
I understand that.
And so one of my ex-soldiers called me. He's like, "Hey, Sergeant, you get this letter?" And I told him the story. And he said, "Dude, they're two separate entities. They can't mess with your VA disability." "Dude, I'll call you back. I got something to do." Ripped that envelope open, refreshed it. Ironically, the second time I signed it was 3 years to the day, the first time I signed it.
Wow.
Sent that off. Yeah, I'm big into numerology and stuff, but sent that off. And in 2018, I was 60% permanent disability retired. And so now I'm eligible for TRICARE for life and all these other things. But back in 2008, all I know about Medicare is that's something you get when you turn 65 and retire. And I'm nowhere near 65. And so the VA told me I didn't require Part B Medicare. So that's what I told Social Security. Well, now that I have to have Part B for TRICARE for life, I have to have, instead of paying $175.10 is what it went up to this year. The Social Security Department is fining me 10% for every 12 months I went without Part B. So instead of paying the $175.10, they want me to pay almost $500 a month.
Jeez, man.
I can't afford that,
No.
and I'm not getting my retired pay. And that's something I'm fighting the Department of the Army about. It's been in the National Defense Authorization Act since early 2000s, and to include the Chapter 61 military retirees. And so right now I meet every criteria except the 20-year. And I have issue with that because you've taken my life. You've taken my ability to go out and supplement my income.
Yeah.
Especially during, these times of inflation and things going on. How am I supposed to adjust? What do I have to cut out of my family's life to be able to support us? My wife had to quit working and take care of me full time. The VA won't consider her as my care, beneficiary because she's my wife. Well, who in the hell do you think cleans the house, takes care of the dogs, mows the grass? It ain't me. It's my wife. And so it's very frustrating. And so now in 2021, the National Defense Authorization Act, they were trying to acknowledge the Chapter 61s with less than 20 years. And if that passed, then we would start receiving our disability benefits, our retirement benefits, I'm sorry. But it doesn't include our back pay.
Yeah.
So when I was retired in 2018, they sent me my retirement packet and a financial statement showing where just in back pay at the incorrect rank, they owe me over $192,000, but I can't have it.
Wow. Dang, that sucks, man.
And so it's something that had I the ability, I would have been working and making a hell of a lot more money than I do now.
And the
But
thing is too, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but since I became disabled and I'm unable to do a lot of the things that a man usually does around the house, and say mowing the yard and what have you, it's emasculating.
You ain't kidding. It's like they freaking neutered us.
Exactly.
When I was told by a physical therapist, well, the head of the physical therapy program, pain management program in Houston, told me, "This is your new life. Accept it. You'll never be able to do the things you used to do." I'm like, okay, well, why don't I hop off this exam table and spread my legs so you can really kick me in the balls?
Right.
But things have changed, and things in the VA system are changing because we have so many of our sisters coming back. And there's just ungodly things that they have been through in their military branches. And we have to treat each other accordingly. We're veterans, just as human beings, it's too easy to do the right thing. And it's too easy, I want to ask people just to start with one kind gesture a day. And
Yes.
after you start doing that, it becomes habit and you don't even realize it. But when you're doing that kind gesture, you open the door for someone, tell someone, hello, how are you today? You may be the only person that speaks to that person, that inquired about them. And who knows how long? We don't know what each other are going through, what we're dealing with in life. Why make it worse? Degrading people and downing people. Let's
Yep.
we're here together. We don't have a choice, but we can choose how we treat each other.
Yep. And it's sad to see the country splitting like it is. We're supposed to be in this together, even if we don't agree on
That's what they
certain
call it, the
issues.
United States.
Exactly. And, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a
Me either.
crystal ball, but the way you hear the news talking and everything, it's like this country's going to split.
And that's
And
what I'm personally, I've been concerned with throughout all these things is they're going to divide us so much it's going to become a civil war,
yeah,
another civil war, and this one is not going to be pretty.
yeah,
And I know we said we wouldn't get into politics, but there are too many veteran representatives that could and should stand up and correct the issues to their ability and on their level of what's going on in the VA. And each state, here in Texas, we have the Texas Veterans Commission that I work very closely with. Got some great people. The training they give just to be able to assist veterans in the military veteran peer network counseling, it's better information than the information you get in separation from the military. But DOD won't let us teach these courses. Won't let us on post. What, we're going to say something that goes against your virtue? We're just trying to prepare these veterans for what to actually expect when they're separating, to be able to, as we were talking earlier, when you're trained, and I say trained, when you're ingrained, you're a soldier. Me being infantry, which I'm attached to an infantry unit on communications, but I'm first and foremost an infantry soldier.
right.
Fort Benning, Georgia. We can go back to why is the sky blue? God loves the infantry. What makes the green grass grow? Blood, blood. We're trained this way. We're trained to react to certain situations, certain environments. It's so ingrained into you, it's just instinct. You just react, you just do. And so, like you asked, how are we trained to be government assassins, go fight these wars to keep this country safe and come back and adapt in a system that's unfamiliar with us.
Exactly.
We don't come back and go in and get employment, at a new facility and start at the top of the totem pole. You start at the bottom like everybody else and work your way up. It doesn't matter about your credentials. That don't mean shit.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, the proof is in the fine details, and it's very difficult, and it takes these guys time to readjust just to being in a civilian life.
Yep.
But any everyday things can trigger, their PTSD. Whether they have PTSD or anxiety issues, it's pretty much the same damn thing. I should have been diagnosed with PTSD when I was 11 and my father was murdered in front of me. They didn't have that diagnosis back then. It was here, give him some Ritalin, and no, sorry, I don't want to be on your freaking pills.
Yep.
But that's where we need to look at it, and because there's so many veterans that have had their PTSD diagnosis held against them,
And that's not
and
right.
so, and they're being punished because they raised their hand and swore an oath to defend this country with and up to their lives. And so many have given everything for this country. How are we honoring those people? How are we honoring these men and women that have gone and have lost limbs? Excuse me, Kyle. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
That's my goofy wife, and she knows I'm on the podcast. So, anyway, it's just it's crazy to me to have these expectations of people just to change on a dime. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's unrealistic to expect that. You need a decompression time just to release the tension and energy from being a deployed combat vet, from just being a veteran, period. To adjust back into the lifestyle and to be a positive contributor, to your community, to your family, to your, our nation.
Yeah.
You've already, given your body, given your mind, all of these things.
Given your soul.
And, I'm not saying we need to be treated with kid gloves. They're far from it. We would take that as an insult. But you have to come to the table with some common sense.
Exactly.
And be open-minded enough to listen to what these men and women are saying. And, there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. You can sympathize with people because of the situation, they're going through or been through. You can only empathize if you've been through it yourself.
And the thing is we've barely scratched the surface with this. And unfortunately, we have come to the end of the show. But I know I invite people to come back all the time. But that this platform's open to you. Anytime you need to come on and vent, you've got something you want to promote or anything.
Yeah,
you can always come back to my show. And
I appreciate it so much, and thank you for giving my voice an amplifier.
Of course.
And I would like to say, Southeast Texas Veterans for Veterans and the Beaumont Regional Planning Commission, we're having our fourth stand down event on September 30th in Beaumont, Texas, at the Beaumont Civic Center. It's for homeless veterans, homeless alike, low-income families. We bring, we'll have 50. Now my TBI is kicking in. We'll have tables of all different resources within the community that'll be there to, give advice. We'll have health screenings, haircuts, lunches, breakfast and lunch are provided. We'll have door prizes. Again, that's at the Beaumont Civic Center, September 30th. Then November 12th, the day after Veterans Day, V4V will hold its annual Veterans Day picnic at Claiborne Park in Vidor, Texas. We're going to start around noon, run till probably 4 or 5 o'clock, and it's going to be free food, entertainment, lots of vendors, and we ask everybody that can please come out and join the camaraderie, meet some new people, make some new friends, and be part of the community.
Do y'all have a website?
I haven't built the website yet because of our age. We're only a few years old. We do have the Facebook page, Southeast Texas, spelled out, Southeast Texas Veterans, and the number 4 Veterans. And we can be contacted there. And then
you don't have any other social media?
Please reach out.
Just the Facebook? Just
the Facebook for now. I don't want to expand too much because, like I told you, Kyle, I don't post a lot on the Facebook page because I'm not in this for pats on the back and way to go, boy, and all that bullshit. I'm in this to help my brothers and sisters.
Exactly. Yeah. I have to say the same thing. I mean, I'm basically a nobody when it comes to the YouTube world and all that. But
you and me both.
If this is the least that I could do, I'm gonna do it. And
thank you.
All your brothers and sisters are welcome to come on if they want to vent, whatever they need to talk about. They're always welcome. And let's try to make all this happen. And you guys need, unfortunately, you have to get some help outside of the VA and the government. And I hope that we can do that. All of our audience out there, do what you can, even if it's just to tell a veteran thank you for your service, whatever you can do to make them just feel good, even for a moment. do it.
It's just the appreciation. It's just the acknowledgement. It's funny because veterans, we can pick each other out of a crowd because we just have a certain way about us, and we just kind of nod at each other like, yeah, I got you, brother. And, as I'm Army, and the branches, we love to pick on each other, make jokes. But when it comes down to brass tacks, we got each other's back, and we come together, the finest, most well-oiled machine of disaster sometimes. We get shit done, man. We do what we're trained to do, and we do it with our heart.
Well,
so I want to thank you, Kyle, for having me on.
Of course, man. Of course. I say that is the least I can do, but we got to do something.
I agreed.
And, again, thank you for your service, and thank you for your time, man.
No, it's my pleasure.
I also want to thank all of you out there. If you're new to the channel, I appreciate you stopping by, and please come back, subscribe. For those of you who are regular, thank you for that support, because it's because of you that I do this, and I'm able to do this. Get your friends to subscribe, get your family to subscribe, that coworker. Again, yes, I know I'll be making money off of it too, but the more people that support us, the more money I can make to help them out as well. And I want to start being able to do that, and it starts with y'all. So until the next one, everyone, please take care, be kind to one another, thank a veteran, God bless, and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network